What's up, YouTubers? So it's kind of portable house fire season. If you look over there, trying to stay warm in here. And I thought it would be a great day to talk a little bit about safety and fire extinguishers. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Let's get into it. So as long as I've had a workshop, I've always had multiple fire extinguishers, and even when I was working in my father's garage, he had multiple fire extinguishers, and from time to time they got used because you did something dumb you shouldn't and set something on fire and it got a little bit out of hand. And I'll tell you what, a fire extinguisher is one of those things, when you need it, you need it. Well, this is a product that's available for purchase, and this isn't a sponsored video. I bought and I've used these in the past, but it's an element fire extinguisher. Unlike a traditional fire extinguisher that uses like a metal canister, and by the way, I do have one of those behind me, and then there's also one on the outside of the building I'm in, the tin shack. This is kind of like a modern take on one of those fire extinguishers. It's very small, as you can see. It's basically like a road flare, and it functions just like that, and more on the functioning end later in the video. But this particular fire extinguisher is rated, and they have a nice little label on here, and I'll actually pull this off and zoom in on that so you can see it with me. So this is for A, B, C, and K fires. So A would be like your wood burning combustible, so paper and wood. Class B is fuel fires, so your gasolines, your kerosenes, your brake cleans, any of that would probably fall under your B class. It has C class, which that is electrical fires, which you can see here, little depiction. And then K fires, which fall under the category of like grease fires, like you'd have in a kitchen. So this does all the types of fires that you might run into. Okay, and let me zoom out now. So not only can this put out pretty much any kind of fire you might have, other than this is not for like hazardous metals, so like potassium, I think, and lithium. I don't know that it would work for that. It does say electrical, but, you know, combustible metals, you got to be very careful with those. And I don't think you're going to be playing around with them to where you need something like this. And if you are, you need a specific fire extinguisher for those. But that's besides the point. So this is a fire extinguisher. They come in two sizes. I believe this is the smaller size. I'll put up right now whether or not it is. But they come in two different ratings as far as how long they work for. And that's the sizes. This particular unit, which is not that big, maybe 12 inches long, lasts for 50 seconds. And how you activate this is you pull this bottom cap off, you pull the top cap off, and I'm not going to spark this, but you rub it just like a match head on a box. It starts a reaction there, and this pumps out a massive amount of smoke. And you use that smoke that comes out of here and you point it at the base of the fire and it will put it out. Now, I have actually used one of these, 100% being truthful, and it worked great. And I'll tell you a quick story about that. So I do a lot of off-roading, and when you're off-roading, it's pretty common to get stuck in mud or on rocks, and you're redlining your motor, and there's a tremendous amount of heat going on, and everything's, you know, twisting, moving, and you can have things like hydraulic lines or fluid lines pop off and spray fluid all over and catch on fire. And well, one time I was off-roading, that happened, not to me, but to a guy I was with. He had a power steering return line pop off of his vehicle's power steering pump. It sprayed ATF all over his manifolds, caught on fire, and the fireball underneath the hood was so big it looked like a mini sun. He went to do a climb on some rocks. I was looking, all of a sudden saw that, jumped out of my Jeep, which I had one of these in it, sparked it up, started directing the smoke from this, and it comes out pretty thick. Think of it like a smoke bomb. Underneath the hood, the grill, and then he popped the hood, and I completely just engulfed the under hood area. And within, I would say, 20 to 25 seconds, the whole fire under the hood was out. And not only that, this does not leave a massive amount of residue like a conventional fire extinguisher does. This simply cuts the oxygen supply to the fire and it can no longer burn. It worked unbelievably good. And given where we were at the time, had I not had this on me, that truck would have been burned to the ground, probably lit half the woods on fire. There was zero possibility. It was at least a 20-minute trip for a fire department to get there, and nobody else in the area was probably within 15 minutes with a fire extinguisher. So the truck would have been a total loss, and God knows what else would have happened had I not had this. So I know for a fact that they do work, and they work far better than a normal canister style fire extinguisher because, like I said, they don't leave all of that residue, whatever that is, all over everything. So this is something that I generally kept in my Jeep or any vehicle I had for off-roading. It's invaluable, but I decided to buy one for my shop because it's a little bit smaller than a canister style and it works great. Now, there are some slight drawbacks to this style. One of them is because you spark it like a road flare, once this thing starts, it's going to keep putting out smoke for roughly, in this case, it's 50 seconds, so non-stop for 50 seconds, which means if the fire is out, you now have essentially a smoke bomb in your house, in your hand that's just going to keep going off. Not a huge issue because if the fire's out, you're fine. With a standard canister fire extinguisher, you can let up on the handle and stop spraying stuff. So that is somewhat of a drawback of this. Other than that, this at 50 seconds equals, and I think they even say here, yeah, it says 80% smaller, blah, 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 but it is equal to whatever size this unit is. I don't know if that's like a 10-pound. I'll put up right now what size extinguisher it's equal in size. So the only real drawback of this style fire extinguisher is that once you strike it, it works like a road flare, and basically it will not stop outputting smoke until it's consumed. So the contents of this burns all the way down. So if you have a small fire, it's not like a normal canister type like this, where you can just let up on the handle and you're fine. This thing, it's going to burn for 50, 60 seconds and that's it. So you will inadvertently, if you have a small fire and use this on, you'll probably end up having to hold this out of the area just so you don't keep pumping smoke once it's out. But that's a small price to pay for the fact that your fire is out. But beyond that, like I said, in my actual usage of this, it works exactly as designed. And for your home shop, this is so convenient, and it comes with a little clip. You can mount it on the wall just like that. And you always have a handy fire extinguisher that, like I said, does not leave residue all over, because that's one thing that sucks, like especially around wiring harnesses, or say you're in your shop and you got expensive equipment and stuff. Having all that residue on everything could potentially cause damage to that. You don't have that with this. And like I said, they do make a bigger one. So if you're really around some combustible stuff where you might need something with more capacity, get the bigger one rather than this guy. But the 50-second burn time on this is more than enough, I would say, for an average fire that your average person would have around their house. But hey, it doesn't hurt to get a bigger one, but keep in mind, once you light it, that's it. It's going to be burning. Now, the cost of these is also, I guess, the only other downside. These things can cost anywhere between 60, 70 bucks if you have some kind of a discount coupon. Like I bought this for 30% off through Duluth Trading because they had a 30% off anything coupon. That's how I got this. But most of the time these sell for like 80, 90 bucks, and then even more for the bigger one. So they're more than your standard canister style fire extinguisher. But to me, the pluses of if you actually need it, the lack of residue, it's worth it to spend more money. And this is so small, you can put it anywhere. And that's why in the off-roading community, they're extremely popular. Now, the other downside is that if someone isn't familiar with this, they won't know to look at this to use it. which is, everyone knows how to use a normal a fire extinguisher, or at least they should. But if someone sees this, they might not know what it is. They might think it's a road flare or something. So arguably, this style does take some form of training to get competent results. And by training, I mean just how to strike it. It's very easy, just like a road flare. But again, say in some inadvertent reason you're not at your shop, or you're somehow unconscious and someone comes in and there's a fire, they won't necessarily know how to use this. So that is a potential drawback. But for me, I don't see that. And in my shop case here in this tin shed, I have numerous canister style fire extinguishers, and now I'm going to have this guy as an extra safety. But yeah, anyways, with all that said, let's go to conclusion. So it's a little fast of a video today, and it's not a sponsored video. Like I said, I bought this with my own money, and I do truly believe in this product. I have used it personally, and I know they work, and this will save your ass if you need it. And if you're doing a lot of welding in your home garage and stuff, I would highly recommend getting one of these. And even, I mean, let's face it, your house could catch on fire too. Why does it hurt to have something like this around? When you need it, you need it. The fire department, in the 10, 15, 30 minutes it'll take to get there to put your crap out for you, the amount of damage that could start out of that or be caused, it pays, to have this. And that's my recommendation is, if you need a fire extinguisher, and every one of you guys should have one of these. Well, not necessarily this, but a fire extinguisher. This is a great option for you. I'm sure at some point in the future, I'll do a video where you'll see this actually work. Down the road when I'm off-roading, I'm probably going to do a couple videos regarding off-roading, and I'll actually demonstrate one of these working in person. Hopefully I won't have to shoot a video where someone caught on fire and I have to use it, but I will give a demonstration just so in the future you guys can see that and how well this works. I'll probably put out like a campfire with it or something just to prove the effectiveness on it. But yeah, with that said, that's something you guys got to think about. I'll be honest, I didn't, have a fire extinguisher a few times in the past. I'm generally pretty consistent about having one, and I'll tell you what, I feel a lot better knowing I have something available to me than nothing. So it's something you should think of. And if you guys have used these or have any thoughts on this, feel free to share. If you got any questions, just let me know. With that said, thanks for sticking around for today's short video. Until next time.